So, welcome to Mindful Microdosing for Anxiety and Overwhelm, how tiny doses of magic mushrooms and somatic practices can shift us into inner peace. I'm Leslie. I'm going to go ahead and turn off our music. Awesome. So, it is so good to have you guys here. I am really excited to teach this again. I taught it a few weeks ago and had some really great results. I've made a few tiny little tweaks, and I'm just really excited to give you guys this information, help you feel better fast. So, if you're not familiar with me, my name is Leslie. I am a former news anchor turned somatic guide and microdosing coach. I work primarily with women in midlife, but also military veterans. And I spent 30 plus years being anxious AF. I remember my first anxiety attack as like a 5-year-old, and I never understood how to cope with these feelings of worry, these feelings of stress and anxiety. So for me, I tried my meditation, I tried therapy, I tried going to these medications like Xanax and SSRIs, but yet I still woke up in the middle of the night feeling really freaked out about something I might have said at work that day or the week before, ruminating about a worst case scenario. That was always my go-to, and really wondering if that was going to be my forever. Today, though, I'm going to share the method that actually helped me heal my anxiety, find tools to help me get out of my head when anxious thoughts do arise, because even though I'd say I'm healed, I still get anxious every once in a while. And I'm going to share with you what's helped dozens of my clients also find inner peace. So I love to know where we're going in a training like this. This is where we're headed. We're going to talk about psilocybin 101. That's magic mushrooms 101. I'm going to talk to you about why choosing microdosing might be a really great fit for you in your life. I'm going to share with you absolutely everything you need to know to get started. We'll talk about how to shift your state. And then at the end, if you stick around, I'm going to share an amazing new way that I can support you, which I'm really excited about. So, first things first. Why psilocybin? And what is psilocybin? So, psilocybin is a psychoactive ingredient that is found in magic mushrooms. This reacts with the serotonin receptors in our brain to turn down this area in our brain called the default mode network. Now, that's where your beliefs about yourself live, your habits live, your ruminating thoughts might live, and our really rigid self thought. So if you ever struggled with things like bad body image, self-limiting beliefs, issues with unworthiness, or feeling unlovable and anxiety, great chance is that it is stuck in that default mode network. So when we work with magic mushrooms, it increases our neuroplasticity and can help to turn down the default mode and turn on new parts of the brain. That way we can create these new healthier patterns of thinking and living, and it can really help us implement real change in our life. So psilocybin is what's known as a non-specific amplifier, and it brings things that are in our unconscious to the consciousness in order to be healed. This is why it can be really helpful to work with anxiety and overwhelm, because it tends to find the root cause. And sometimes the root cause of our anxiety isn't what we think it is, right? Because it might be locked somewhere in the subconscious mind where we don't even consciously know. This is, though, why I also don't always recommend working with magic mushrooms if you're in an acute stage of anxiety or panic, right? If you're someone who's experiencing panic attacks day after day, or you're in an acute state of grief or depression or sadness, you might benefit more from other forms of holistic healing first before going into a psychedelic experience, because it might amplify those really intense feelings for you, and it can feel, to be totally honest, really bad. Like, it can feel like shit. Getting support, though, is always something that I encourage. If it's not from me, somebody like me, I know lots of people. If I'm not the one who, resonates with you, but you're experiencing these things and you want assistance, I can always help set you up. So, the thing I found so fascinating when I was doing the research for my own healing was that study after study is showing that psilocybin does improve the symptoms of anxiety with little to no known side effects. And if you've ever been on pharmaceutical drugs for your anxiety or your depression, you know that these things come with a shitload of side effects. For me, it was no libido, issues with gaining weight, just this feeling that I was numb all the time. Like I didn't feel that sad or that anxious, but I didn't feel happy either. So it is really becoming an alternative to those pharmaceutical drugs. And if you're someone who is already on those medications, you got to talk to your doctor before you stop them. Please God, don't stop them cold turkey. It took me 6 to 8 weeks to wean off of mine back in 2017 when I came off of those pharmaceuticals. So it's an option. It's certainly an option a lot of people are turning to. But if that's something you're interested in, please talk to your doctor because this is a great time to tell you I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a licensed mental health counselor. And so the things that I'm sharing today are for your education, your information, but please don't use them in place of licensed medical or mental health support. Finally, the greatest thing about psilocybin is that it's really pretty safe for almost everybody, and it's also not addictive. So, moving on to doses, right? Folks talk about tripping psychedelics, and there's two main ways people work with it. One is at the micro level, and the other is at that full dose where you're hallucinating, where you're tripping. And so I thought this was such a cute little graphic to put together to explain to you what dose might be right for you. So let's talk about microdosing. This is a really gentle approach to healing. This is when you're ingesting on average zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.5 grams, which is a tenth to a 20th of a full dose. You're going to ingest that a few times a week for 2 to 3 months, and the effects each time you ingest the medicine last for about an hour to an hour and a half. This fits really easily into your everyday life. You're not high, you're not intoxicated, you're not hallucinating, and physically you could feel more focused, more calm, more relaxed. Now, on the full dose level, this is super potent, powerful, transformative medicine. You're ingesting on average between 2 grams and 7 grams, and you're looking at spending 6 to 8 hours under the influence. And you are highly intoxicated at this point. You are unable to do your normal things. You got to take some time away from folks. And like I said, this can be really potent and sometimes not very gentle. But this has been a really great medicine modality for me. I recommend people do no more than 3 full dose journeys a year, and weekends are really great for that experience. So now you kind of know these are the two general ways people work with psychedelic mushrooms, either at the microdose or at the full dose. And so because of the way that microdosing fits so perfectly into our everyday life, that's what I help people with most often, and that's what we're talking about today. So when we are anxious, if you're anxious, you know, you live a lot in your head. Your thoughts might overwhelm you at times. You may find that you're living in the past or the future and not the present. The thing is that a lot of people turn to meditation to help with anxiety as maybe the first holistic approach they've ever heard of. Meditation is amazing. Meditation is something that I really, really love. And for a long time, meditation felt impossible to me because I could never quiet my mind. I even got trained as a meditation teacher because I was like, this has to work for me. I need to learn exactly how to do it right. Years and years of practice, years and years of other training have really shown me that sometimes meditation just isn't what we need for anxious minds. The fact is that your nervous system just might not feel safe enough to be present. And that is where somatic practices come from. Now, somatics is a word that I speak a lot. It's really one that I'm very familiar with, and I'm very aware that you might not know what that means. And basically, it just means whole body healing. Soma comes from a Latin word meaning the whole self, the whole organism. And so somatics are a shitload of different practices that really help you get into your body and, in turn, can help you quiet your mind. So, the big ones out there that a lot of people talk about: breath work, love breath work, movement, grounding, dance, sounding, which is basically when you simulate and stimulate the vagus nerve, which is essential to the nervous system, through something like humming or singing or chanting. And then finally, self touch, right? Self havening is also a word for it, and self massage. But there are tons of different somatic practices, and I would be willing to bet that you might be doing some of them without even knowing it. If you go for a walk in nature, that's a somatic practice. You're moving your body, you're probably focused a bit more on your breath, you're grounding, especially if you take your shoes off. And nature, in and of itself, is such a wonderful ally to help us get into our bodies, because that's really where we want to go. We want to get out of the head, we want to get into the body. And so combining somatics and microdosing for me became this like golden ticket to magical, massive transformation. I found that when I created rituals and created a practice that used mindfulness and microdosing together, I was able to heal anxiety. I created a connection that felt safer with my body. I ultimately balanced my feminine energy because I used to live almost predominantly in that overachieving, perfectionist, hustle culture vibe. And it also really brought me into a deeper connection with the divine. Now, depending on your belief system, you may say God, universe, divine. For me, it helped me really see that I'm a part of something bigger, that I'm a part of love, and that this universe is a grand and loving place. And I could be a really instrumental part in that. So, if you are ready to learn how to blend these two things together, type a hell yes in the chat. It's just me and you, Amanda. So you can also just come off of mute. Hell yes. Okay. I also wanted to go back and check your the little note you'd sent. Originally from PA, moved to Ohio. My sister gave me some microcaps a few weeks ago. Been trying to cut back on drinking and finding a healthier way to deal with anxiety. Oh, my love, you are in the right place. So let's talk about how to get clear. This is the first step. If you don't already have a journal, I recommend you grabbing something. You can also just use your notes app on your phone. But we're going to talk about how to get clear on why you're inviting magic mushrooms into your life. So I want you to take just a couple of minutes and think about what you're struggling with right now. And maybe it's the things that you already expressed in the chat, but I'd love if you could just write a few sentences or a few words down in your journal about what it is that you feel like you're struggling with, dealing with right now. I'm going to play a little music while we do this. So now what I want you to do is I want you to finish that thought and take a couple of minutes and just, if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes or you can just lower your gaze. Maybe just place your hand on your heart. And I want you to think about what your life could look like if you weren't struggling with the things you're struggling with right now. See yourself waking up, noticing how you feel as you move about your day. What happens when you get off of work, when you interact with your family? How do you feel when you go to sleep at night? Maybe you feel calm. Maybe you feel happy. Maybe you feel connected. Taking just a few more moments, and let those feelings, those visions of your life spread out all over your body. What would it be like if you weren't struggling? So now, what I invite you to do is pick a word or a short phrase based on some of the things that you wrote down, some of the things that you visualized when you looked at your life without those struggles. And we're going to set an intention. Now, this is a really key part of microdosing, in my opinion. Having an intention, having a theme, right? This isn't a hard and fast rule, something that you have to stick to. It can always be flexible, but maybe it's a single word. Maybe it's a sentence, a short phrase. It can even be something like, please show me how to live with joy. Teach me what I'm supposed to do next in my life. Don't worry about getting it absolutely right. There's no such thing as a perfect intention. And you have time after this class to do much more journaling about this. But if a word jumps out at you, I'd love it if you would share it in the chat. Focus on the present, moving forward. It's beautiful. I love that. So now, another key thing about getting clear around our microdosing protocol is releasing expectation. Mushrooms will give you what you need, not necessarily what you want. And so sometimes what we think we desperately need might be just scratching the surface of what we really need to feel really good. So I always invite you, as you work on getting clear about why you want to invite this medicine into your life, to always come at it with this feeling of trust, surrender, and also just committing to showing up for yourself. Because you could microdose just willy-nilly, without intentions, without thinking that this is a really sacred, reverent practice, which I feel it really is. And I would be willing to bet you might feel a little better, but long term, you wouldn't find that healing, you wouldn't find that lasting change that would help you focus on the present, help you release negativity of the past, right? And so trust, surrender, and commit to showing up for yourself is the last part of getting clear about inviting microdosing mushrooms into your life. So now let's talk about the nitty-gritty of getting set up. So it seems like you have already found a place to access, and that's always the biggest question, right? That is always the thing folks come to me. At Cyclical Microdosing Method is my secondary Instagram account. And so everybody that I follow there is somebody I have vetted that is a safe source. When you think of sourcing, please don't just like look at the comment section in my Instagram and order from any folks on there. Like if it's Mush Guy 225, 100% like that you're going to get your money taken. This is a really gray area. There are places where this is legal. And so companies that I've vetted are very often operating from those spaces. They ship online. Estimated cost is usually between $15 and $30 a month, just depending on the source that you choose. Once you have figured out where you might be sourcing, the next thing is that we're always starting small, always starting small. Microdosing is incredibly beneficial even at the teeniest of tiniest of doses. And so for everybody that I work with, I recommend you start at 100 milligrams or 0.1 grams and go up from there. Capsules are really the thing that most folks are using to microdose. And so when you order them from a reputable source, oftentimes that's one of the dosing options. But you might find doses in the 200s, 300s, even low like the 50s. You're going to experiment as you do this to find your unique sweet range. But some things that you're going to want to watch out for is if you ingest your medicine and you ever feel jittery or you feel more anxious, that could be a sign that your microdose is just a little too high, and it happens to everyone. It happens to us all. It's totally normal. It's totally okay. And I kind of welcome it because then we know, okay, that might be the top tier. When you're starting, I recommend you start at 100 milligrams, use that for a week, and then if you don't feel anything, you can take a little bit more. If after a few days you're starting to notice you feel jittery or you're feeling anxious, maybe you want to take a little less, right? But start small and go slow. When we microdose, we do not do it daily, right? This is a medicine that is really powerful and potent. And part of that powerful potency is that we start to see really beautiful things happen in our lives, even on the days we're not dosing. And so you want to have that time off of the medicine to see the afterglow. So I recommend you aim for ingesting your microdose 3 to 4 times a week, no more than 5 times a week, and you commit to this for 2 to 3 months. Then you'll take a month off and you'll really look and see, okay, what happened? How am I feeling? Have I noticed any major changes in my life? Am I more able to focus on the positive? Am I releasing the pain of the past? And then finally, again, like I said, your off days, and we're going to talk about this in a minute when we talk about somatic practices, your off days in a microdosing protocol are just as important as on. And so on and off, that means the day that you take the medicine is just as important as the day you don't, because you're really committing to a 2 to 3 month process. That process is every single day, even if you're not eating mushrooms daily. I hope that makes sense. So you're not going to microdose forever, right? This really comes into our lives for a season. It helps us with these really beautiful and specific intentions. And my hope is that you're going to be able to see these massive benefits within 2 to 3 months. And if things start to come up for you that feel tough, if you feel like you can't stick to a protocol, that's really when looking for help can be really supportive. Let me go to the chat. I saw you had a question. Yes, I love the idea that you may receive significant benefits without having to take it forever. Seriously. I saw massive changes from 2 very potent microdose protocols that I did. One lasted about 3 months, the second lasted about 10 weeks. And I've seen like huge change. My anxiety, I'm sober. And that was the last one that I did was in the beginning of 2023. And the changes are still here. So now that we've talked about the nitty gritty, how to get set up, this is how you get started. First things first, you're now armed with your supplies. You are armed with your intention. You've got your plan. You understand where you're going to go as far as your plan, your protocol goes, and you're really ready to get started. The next thing I recommend you do once you've found your microdose days is set up a space that you can really use to feel intentional, to feel sacred. On your microdose morning or afternoon or evening, whatever you find feels best for you, and I always recommend trying them all, I recommend you ingest the medicine, stay off of socials for the rest of your 45 to 90 minutes, and then focus on things that can help you feel more grounded in your body. Those somatic practices that we talked about just a minute ago are great. Maybe you go for a walk, maybe you take a bath, maybe you sit outside and watch the birds. The way that microdosing usually works is that you will feel it start to kick in. Maybe you're feeling a little bit more focused, a little bit more relaxed, and usually 20 to 30 minutes. And so it will last for, again, an hour to an hour and a half. And that's really why on the days we're ingesting the medicine, a ritual and a routine is important. Now, like I said before, even if you're not eating the mushrooms, I want you to really focus on those off days on still doing intentional practices. So I say 20 minutes at the most on the days that you aren't microdosing can be really helpful to just maybe quickly journal, maybe do a little bit of meditation or breath work. And again, focus on that intention, right? Because we really want that to be something that is anchoring us in the practice. I have had folks use their background on their phone with their intention. They'll make like a cute collage, write it on their mirrors, put it in their car, put it on the fridge. That word, sentence, phrase, whatever it is, to every single day through the protocol, remind them this is what I'm anchoring into. Next, you're going to start to notice if it's working, right? You might feel, like I said, more relaxed, more focused and tuned in. Some things might happen that are kind of funny. You might start burping. You might start yawning a lot. That is like a huge indicator that microdosing is happening. You'll find yourself really needing to yawn. And again, if you don't experience anything, if you feel totally the same, if you can't feel any more, if you can't feel any of the feelings of relaxation or focus or calm, then after 2 or 3 dose days, maybe you up your dose. If you've been on 100, maybe you go to 150, right? But look for those types of really subtle shifts. There is this phrase in the microdosing community called sub-perceptual, below perception. I don't think that that's true. I really think that when we're tuned into our bodies, we feel microdoses. We feel our maybe, like I said, more relaxation. We might feel more tuned in. And you won't feel you won't feel though drunk, right? You're not going to feel intoxicated. But if you don't feel anything, that's kind of a sign that, all right, maybe I want to increase my dose. Now, the last thing that I really want to share with you is this somatic practice that really helped me, one, anchor into my microdosing protocol and shift out of anxiety so that I could get out of my head, right? Somatic practices are great for pairing with microdosing because sometimes, we might find that that hour to an hour and a half, we're bored, we don't know what we're doing. If we're somebody who loves to doom scroll, it's me. I like to doom scroll when I feel disassociated. This practice can be really helpful to like snap you out of that and really help you stay focused. Because I'm going to be honest, like I've worked with this medicine for 2.5, 3 years, and I still don't always do it perfectly. I still get distracted when I microdose. And so the shift method can really help shift, that's why it's called shift, into that state. So let's look at shifting. I'm gonna look at the chat. Kate has joined. Hi, babe. No worries. We are just going over a couple of things. The replay will be available to you so that you can catch up, and I'm just super glad that you're here. So let's talk about shifting into mindfulness. So, like I said, as you microdose, you're going to probably become aware of really subtle shifts in your body, in your beliefs, in your feelings, your sensations, and even stories maybe related to you in your life. It is really common for the root causes of things like anxiety to rear their head, to show us, oh, that might be why that's happening. All of these things can really be super beneficial to helping us balance our life and kick out the shit that does not serve us anymore. Journaling and tracking your data around microdosing is really an essential part, right? And I get that some folks hate journaling and they don't like to do it. And I have really fluctuated between loving journaling and being addicted to it. I was a journalist for 15 years and like not even wanting to look at my journal. So the shift method includes something that is a really quick and dirty journaling exercise, spending just 2 minutes every day during your microdosing protocol so that you can track a little bit of that data. And so long term, you can know how far you've come. So these are some things that you could use as journal prompts. And you can use anything really for a journal prompt. I like, what's coming up for me right now? What sensations do I feel right now? What do I think that sensation is showing me? What thoughts are coming up for me? How can I support myself right now? And so journaling is not only a really amazing tool to know yourself more deeply, it's probably the most important part of a microdosing protocol because you got to have your data. If you don't have your data, then you're not going to know how far you've come. And that's why in the shift method, it's the very first step. And it's quick, it's 2 minutes long, and it's just enough time for you to get a little things down on paper without having to spend a shitload of time journaling. Because honestly, that was never my vibe. So this is what the shift method stands for. It stands for seeking out your sensations and honoring what comes up, inhaling and exhaling, flowing, and then taking stock. So you can see on the side, seek and honor come up with journaling. Inhale is that breath part. Flow is the intuitive movement we're going to talk about in a moment. And then at the very end, you're just kind of going to take a little stock of how you feel, pause for a moment, and notice if you feel like you've shifted. Has your state shifted? Now, you don't have to remember what shift stands for. I don't really give a shit if you remember that at all, because this is the important part here. You're going to do 2 minutes of journaling, 3 minutes of breath work, and 4 minutes of movement. I created a playlist that is perfectly timed. One song is 2 minutes, the second song is 3 minutes, and the third song is 4 minutes long. And you'll get that as part of the replay. But looking kind of a little bit more closely at the journaling part of this, like just look for bullet points, brain dump, quickly get out what you feel is really pressing on your mind that day. If you don't want to write, draw. But maybe it's a smiley face, maybe it's like an angry face, maybe it's a middle finger, whatever. Write whatever you want, draw whatever you want. If you want to get creative, I always recommend creativity can feel so good. The next part is a somatic practice that I really find to be incredibly helpful for anxiety, and it's breath work. You don't have to be trained in breath work to breathe. Clearly, we're doing it right now, or we'd all be dead. So all we're going to do in the 3 minutes of this part of shift is inhale through the nose, unless you're really stuffy, and then you can inhale through your mouth, and exhale through the mouth. And if you're up for it, make a little sound. So it can just sound like a sigh. It can sound more like a sigh moan. You can hum, you can chant, you can say the word voo, which can be really helpful to soothe the nervous system and get us out of our stressful state and into our peaceful state. But it's up to you, right? You can do whatever you want. I didn't want there to be a lot of guidance around what breathwork technique you might want to try. If you do nothing else, just maybe breathe in and exhale for a little longer than you inhaled. That can be really helpful too. Finally, the most fun and the weirdest part of shift is the movement. So somatics and movement go hand in hand. And that can look like swaying. It can look like shaking. It can look like twerking, stretching, cat, cow, down dog, walking in place, marching in place. There are so many ways that you can flow through this intuitive movement. So kind of just let your body do what it wants to do. Let yourself be weird. So this is the shift method. This is what it looks like. 2 minutes of journaling, 3 minutes of breath, 4 minutes of movement. And when you're microdosing, I encourage you to use this 9-minute practice every day, every single day, even when you're not ingesting the medicine. You can change up the music because let's be honest, the playlist can get old if you're listening to the same 3 songs over and over and again every single day. But you want to have something to anchor you into your body, especially if your intentions are around anxiety. So, would you be down to do it together? If you are, maybe give me like a thumbs up in the chat. I'm going to go check the chat. Let's see. I don't know why where is it? Kate says, I love journaling. Great. Okay. Are we going to do this together? I'm going to do it. All right. So here's what I recommend. Grab yourself your journal or your notes app. Give yourself a little bit of space if you can. Turn on your camera, Amanda, if you're willing. If not, we totally understand. I just like to see you get weird. I am going to find the playlist for us and play it really quickly, and we'll get started. Does anybody have any questions before we start? Okay, well, hearing none, let me play this. Okie dokie. Should be able to hear that. It's a little soft. That's okay. All right. So this is when we're journaling. And maybe, we want to journal on why we're here. Why did we show up today? What struggle is going on in our life right now that led us to this training? You can also journal on if you're feeling any sensations, any thoughts or feelings about potentially microdosing to help with your anxiety. And if you ever get lost, a gratitude list is also a great place to go. So wrapping up your journaling. This is the second song, and this is when we breathe. So maybe just writing that last little word or sentence. And again, you can do however you want to do, but as a breath coach, I would be remiss if I didn't at least encourage you to take a few moments, closing down the eyes if you feel comfortable, and just let your body breathe naturally without feeling like you have to change anything right now. Getting a bit still. Noticing how it feels to have that air coming into your body. And out. Now if you're into it, maybe what you do is you try to extend the exhale. Make your exhale a little longer than your inhale. If counting helps, you could maybe inhale for 4 and exhale for 6. finally, as you continue that exhale through the mouth, I invite you to make a little sound as you do it. Making that sound also helps to extend that exhale almost effortlessly. So maybe with that exhale, you notice that you got a little tension or tightness in your mouth. So I invite you to maybe give yourself like a little jaw massage. Maybe you just like do the temples. Oh, mine are so tight. Letting your intuitive movement be the first thing. It's just, touching your face, opening your mouth, and letting that music kind of just spread over your body. If you are seated and you want to stay seated, you could just maybe do a little shoulder rolls or side to side sways. Moving slow at the beginning. We don't want to hurt ourselves if we've been sitting for a while. But as the music grows, I really do invite you to get up if you want. I'm going to get up. And just do my favorite somatic practice is just like drop the shoulders. And feel free to use your breath in this part too. And you can like do a sway, getting that spine to move in all the different ways. Let me stretch a little. Awesome. You're doing great. You're doing great. So maybe now we get into the hips. Stomp and step to side. Then your hips go side to side. You can also do like little hip circles. And if you feel really resistant to this, like don't be weird, like don't feel weird about it. It took me so long to be okay with intuitive movement, like years. So even if you're just swaying a little, even if you're just doing cat-cow, even if you decide that you just want to give yourself a hug, all that's okay. We want this 4 minutes to remind ourselves that we are in a human body, that it's okay to be in touch with our body, that it's okay to feel tightness and tension in our body. And when we get in the body, oftentimes we forgot about the worry that we maybe wrote down about in the 2-minute journaling practice. A few more minutes here. If you haven't done something weird yet, do something weird. Getting almost to the end. I like to add like a little twerk, which can be really good for your sacral chakra, your root and your womb. And then you can stretch the hammies. Ah, all right. Coming back into seated if you feel like you want to. A few more seconds as this song wraps up. All right. Perfect. Amanda said she loved the music. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. So, I would love to know how you feel. Really. I think that when I started to incorporate somatic practices like this and the shift method, it really helped me forget for just a little bit, maybe about what I was worried about, what I was anxious about. Um, and so, really being able to combine those two, I have thought um, is just so transformational. I really just feel like this is the golden ticket for my own healing, and it's why I created this little free training for you guys. So I hope that you do feel better, right? I also know that now you've got all of the tools that you need, honestly, to microdose. Kate, you're a little late, but beforehand we talked about seriously everything you need to know, like safe sourcing, how to get started, protocols, how often to. So you can go back and watch that portion, or you can ask questions after I stop recording, and I'm happy to go back over things with you. But I really think that the reason I experienced so much healing so quickly in 2022 when I started this was because I had accountability and because I had community, right? So if you want some help, I have a brand new way, got a little teaser a minute ago because of technology, a brand new way to help folks with mindful microdosing. So are you down to learn a little bit more?
Yep.
Okay. So I am hosting a group psychedelic integration program, a microdosing program in October. It's going to be 30 days long. And this will include 4 live group calls on Zoom, daily check ins on WhatsApp, and an online library where I have created several hours worth of somatic practices that you can choose from if you want. We're talking breath work, we're talking meditation, playlists, and some very quick, under 10-minute videos on things like how to integrate, how to troubleshoot your microdosing protocol. This is what I needed when I started. And when I thought back to who Leslie was years ago, anxious, overwhelmed, disconnected from her body, and pretty damn like desperate for some type of holistic method to heal after therapy just left me feeling worse. That's why I knew this would be a program that could be helpful. So the cost is $222. Medicine is not included, but usually like it's 30 to $40 medicine for that 30-day. You would be microdosing 3 to 4 times a week and getting really well held by me as well as anyone else who joins the group. We already have somebody in. I'm only letting 12 people total into the group. And so this I really feel is a great entry point to starting a microdosing protocol and getting some really massive changes in just 30 days. So if you want to join, you can do that starting tonight. Doors are open now, but I have to click a button after we're done with this call, and I will love to send you information. I'm going to stop sharing so I can grab the link. Let me go over here real quick. This link is just to let you guys in on more details. It's in the chat. If you want, you can go grab it. I'll also send it out to you in the email with the replay. But this is just to help me know if you want more information. The first 4 people who do sign up can get a free one-on-one with me. That way I can really guide you. I don't have the space to do it for all 12 people, but I really wanted to, reward folks who are ready to dive in. It's September 7th. We don't start till October 1st, but signing up now means that you can get all of the library information now. You can watch your videos beforehand. You know where to get your medicine because there's information in the course about that. And we'll start chatting. So I really just want to say thank you guys so much for coming. I want to commend you and just say I'm proud of you for showing up and for learning about something that might be new, might be something that's been in like your periphery, but I really hope that you enjoyed this. And I'm going to hit stop recording so we can chat.